Nobody checked her background. Nobody asked why the black waitress stayed so calm when the most feared man in the city walked straight up to her. They were too busy admiring her beauty. That was the mistake. One phone call, one night, and 20 years of an untouchable empire collapsed before sunrise. The doctor did not show any concern when Song Yubin's mother was taken to one of the best hospitals in the city. Song Yubin was 12 years old when his mother got sick. He had been standing in the hospital lobby for 2 hours. He saw 3 different nurses walk past his mother without stopping to help her. She was sitting in a chair and her breathing was very slow. They did not have an insurance card. They could not guarantee any payment. Song Mubin saw that his mother's breathing was very slow, so he ran to every hospital staff member he could find and shouted, "My mother is dying. Somebody should please help and just look at her." Nobody came to help Song Mubin's mother. His mother had worked 2 shifts at a textile factory since he was 4 years old. She always told Song Mubin that dignity was the one thing that the world could not take away from him if he held on to it correctly. He believed his mother. He sat alone in that chair in the hallway because they could not afford to pay for his mother's treatment. Song Mubin spent the rest of his life knowing what really killed his mother, Son Yonji, and how his father had abandoned them when Song Mubin was just a year old. He did not cry at the funeral of his mother, Sun Yunji. The men from the factory where his mother, Son Yonji, worked stood there with their hands folded and their eyes lowered, trying to look respectful. Song Mubin watched these men looking at the coffin. He kept waiting to feel something break inside him. He did not feel anything. That night, when the cemetery was empty and the wind was blowing through the grass, Song Mubin put his hand on the fresh soil grave. He said a word that he would never plead again. After his mum's funeral, he got a job with Seoul Prime Delivery, where he had to handle packages that were sealed. One Wednesday afternoon, a co-worker stole a company shipment and pinned it on Song Mubin. Sun found him behind a market stall on the edge of the district, alone. He didn't shout, he didn't threaten, he spoke quietly, and when he walked away, the matter was settled. By nightfall, the entire district had heard what happened. Sun Mubin left Seoul Prime Delivery after 20 months of working there. He received a better job offer through one of his colleagues at the company, who helped him secure the position. Within a few years, Song Mubin became wealthy and started his own company, Song Global Alliance. As time went by, he had 5 men who were very loyal to him, but it was not because they were scared of him. It was because he had helped each of them at some point. He knew their families. He even paid their debts before they had to ask him for help. That is how the Song Global Alliance started to expand. It was not about being scared of him. It was about being loyal to him. One of the leaders of a group was killed, and the police said it was a fight between gangs. Song Mubin did not say if he was involved or not. In 1 week, the rival group's territory belonged to SGL. Then, Song Mubin's group took over another territory and another one. People started talking about him in conversations at the ports where ships come to towns near the border. Some people were scared of him. Some people wanted to work with him. Everybody respected him. His right-hand man, Ji-sung Park, he was very smart. Together, they built something they did not expect. And every year, without fail, Song Mubin went to visit his mum's grave alone. At the age of 45, Song Mubin had a saying that he would repeat to every member of SGL on their first day. He would look them in the eye with a calmness that made people feel uneasy. "I do not ask you to be loyal to me," he would say. "I will earn your loyalty. The world can be a tough place. I just learned how to deal with it faster than most people. If you betray this group, you are basically betraying yourself. If you respect this group, you will never have to worry about anything again." He really believed what he was saying. That is what made him so dangerous. Interpol had created 3 teams to try and catch him over the course of 15 years. The DEA had a file on SGL's activities in many different cities. The CIA had even tried to gather information about him 3 times. Each time they failed to get enough evidence to arrest him. Song Mubin had a way of finding out who was watching him before they even realized he knew. He never stayed in the same place twice. He only trusted people a bit at a time. Ji-sung was very good at making sure no one was following them. One time, he figured out that someone was spying on them within 2 days of them starting, and he was able to stop them without leaving any clues. He was loyal to Song Mubin, not because he liked him, it was just because it made sense for him to be. Song Mubin was the stable person Ji-sung had ever worked for, and that was all that mattered. But there was something that no one had written down in any file about Song Mubin. He was getting more and more paranoid all the time. It was like water sinking into the ground. He did not sleep well at night. He trusted fewer people each year. He always sat with his back against a wall facing the door. He would stare at people's faces for a long time when they were eating together. Having power had given him everything that his mother had never had. Yet he was lonelier than he had ever been, even when he was a kid, standing in a cold hospital hallway. The birthday party was held at the mansion of one of Son Mu-bin's friends, a gang leader as powerful and feared as Mu-bin himself. It was the kind of event where only a few people were invited. The security was tucked into the shadows, felt and seen, while the music was dialed just high enough to swallow any stray conversation. Son Mu-bin went to the party because he had to. That was when he saw Naomi Peters. She moved through the crowd with an authority slipping between bodies to refill glasses without ever breaking the rhythm of a guest's sentence. She was a ghost in sight. Son Mu-bin watched Naomi Peters for a time longer than he meant to. Something about Naomi Peters being so calm and normal caught Son Mu-bin's attention because he was used to being around people who were always trying to impress him. Son Mu-bin walked over to Naomi Peters. Ji-sung Park showed up next to him before he got to Naomi Peters. Boss Ji-sung Park said in a voice, "She is staff. Nobody checked her out personally. Just walk away." Son Mu-bin looked at Ji-sung Park out of the corner of his eye. "I am going to get a drink, Ji-sung." Ji-sung Park said, "You don't drink at parties like this, boss. You never have." Son Mu-bin watched the hand on the wall sweep through 11 full rotations before he finally looked away from Naomi Peters. Naomi Peters did not ask Son Mu-bin who he was, and she did not try to flatter Son Mu-bin. When Son Mu-bin asked Naomi Peters what she thought of the city, she said, "To be honest, it feels like the city belongs to the people." She said it without looking at Son Mu-bin. Her eyes were on the tray she was holding, and her voice was very calm. Son Mu-bin laughed for a very long time. Ji-sung Park remained silent, his knuckles white against his knee as he stared into the rearview mirror. Ji-sung Park knew Naomi Peters was a variable they couldn't calculate, and in their world, variables were fatal. "That woman is a risk that you cannot figure out. Do not contact her again," Ji-sung Park said to Son Mu-bin. Son Mu-bin looked out the window at the city lights passing. "She is a waitress, Ji-sung," Son Mu-bin whispered. Ji-sung Park did not say anything. His hand got tighter on his knee, and he was right about Naomi Peters being a risk. The night was really quiet, like the air was waiting to see what would happen next. When Son Mu-bin asked Naomi Peters for her contact information or phone number, she already knew who he was. Everyone knew who Son Mu-bin was. He was not some rich guy at a party. He was the man that everyone in the city was afraid of. A man whose name people whispered about, not said out loud. Naomi Peters did not get nervous. She did not rush to do anything. She just looked at Son Mu-bin the way she looked at everything, calmly and carefully. Then she gave Son Mu-bin her phone number. After the party was over and Son Mu-bin left with the people who were with him, Naomi Peters stayed behind. The music had stopped playing. Workers were cleaning up the table. The bright lights in the hall were turned off slowly. She sat alone in the hall, thinking about what had just happened. Then she suddenly smiled. 2 days later, her phone rang. It was Son Mu-bin. His voice sounded confident, smooth and in control, like he was used to getting what he wanted. "I want to see you," he said. They agreed to meet at a resort at 8 p.m. To Son Mu-bin, it was not a deal. Just another meeting with someone. Another night where he could show off his power. He had no idea that he was walking into a trap. Before she went to the meeting, Naomi Peters made a kind of call, not to a friend or family member. She called the police and told them everything she knew, where they were meeting, what time, and all the details. For 20 years, the police had been trying to catch Son Mu-bin. He had always been able to stay one step. This time, he was not so lucky. Within an hour, many police agencies were warned and got ready. They did this quietly and carefully. The trap was set. At 7:55 p.m., Son Mu-bin arrived at the resort. He looked calm and confident, like he always did. He seemed untouchable. He went to the room he had booked, poured himself a drink, and waited. 8:15 p.m. Naomi Peters was not there. He checked his watch. 8:30 p.m. She still had not arrived. By 9 p.m., Son Mu-bin started to feel annoyed and a little scared. He called Naomi Peters' number. Her phone was turned off. He felt something that he had not felt in a long time. Fear. He immediately called his right-hand man, Ji Park. What is going on? He asked, his voice tight with worry. There was a pause. Then Ji-sung Park spoke, his voice shaking. Boss, do you not know the police and other agencies have surrounded the resort? For a moment, Song Mu-bin did not say anything. He walked slowly to the window phone in his hand and pulled the curtain aside. He saw flashing red and blue lights reflecting off the glass. There were police cars at the entrance. People were moving on the rooftops. The people who had been chasing him for 20 years had finally caught up with him. In that moment, everything became clear. It was not a date. It was a setup. Send the men, he ordered. It was too late. The police stormed the building. They broke doors. There were footsteps in the hallways as they searched the building floor by floor. Before any of his men could reach him, Son Mu-bin was trapped in the basement. There were gunshots. Then it was quiet. When it was over, the man who had controlled the underworld for 20 years was lying still on the cold floor. His men arrived late. Some of them shot back in desperation. Others tried to run. Many of them were killed in the chaos, including Ji-sung Park. The ones who were still alive were arrested. By the time the sun came up, the Sun Global Alliance was no more. A rule based on fear had ended in one night. Weeks later, the city felt different. It felt lighter. At a ceremony, Naomi Peters stood quietly as she was given an award for being brave. She accepted it calmly, with grace. The woman who had seemed quiet and ordinary was the one who had helped bring down an empire. As people clapped, Naomi Peters looked out at the crowd. This time, she did not smile. She just whispered to herself, "Power always forgets that it can fall." Naomi Peters thought about Son Mu-bin and the Son Global Alliance. She thought about how Son Mu-bin had lived his life always being in control and always getting what he wanted. In the end, Son Mu-bin and the Son Global Alliance had fallen. It was all because of Naomi Peters and the police. The city was finally free from the fear of Son Mu-bin and the Son Global Alliance.